Shalom Akim, Kahala Imla, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem Rakha Kodash, Thadi Shai for the strength and all to make this video, and Yaratazar, they find this video edifying and exhorting. And of course, with the introduction, when we say Kal Halal Imla, Kal meaning all, Halalim meaning praises. Halal is the singular form, which means praise. And when we say La, it means two. So Kal Halalim La means all praises to. And when we say Yahweh, we're saying the Most High's name. In the world, in ignorance, they call him God. But his real name is Yahweh, which means he exists or he is to be. And or he exists or he is to be, the existing one. And when we say Yahweh Shai, we're calling upon the name of our Messiah, our Savior, which really he's come to really save the elect. Not to get too deep into it, but the elect, the remnant of Israel, as Isaiah 10 and verse 20 to 21 refers to. And that remnant is the 144,000, Revelation 14, and Zechariah 13 and verse 9, the 1/3 of Israel. So, so Yahushua meaning he delivers, he saves, and we say Bahashem Rakha Kodash. Bahashem means in the name, Ba means in, Ha means the, and then Sham, Sham, which is where Shem comes from, which means name. So in the name of Rakha Kodash, Rakha meaning spirit, Kodash meaning holy, in other words, the Holy Spirit. So all in all, holistically, it's through the Holy Spirit, that's how we connect to Yahushua. And of course, it's through Yahushua being our mediator, our intercessor, that's how we get the mercy and favor from Yahweh. So that's just the order of things. Anyway, so to get to this video, it's not really something that I need to spend too much time on, because this is just a reiteration of what's already been going on, or a reminder really for anyone else newly coming into the truth and realizing, yeah man, these falsehoods aren't really the place to be at. So really I was gonna get into the video of KFC, what I think is one of them smaller journalists, or those type of channels who do the research on their own. They do the primary research. They don't just rely on secondary sources. Which secondary sources is when another person has created an article, and of course you're getting information from that. But primary research is essentially going to the root of the source. So these actually went to the farms. But anyways, before I get to the video, I want to read this because it essentially just summarizes the quality of food that we eat today as Israelites. So Ezekiel 4 verse 12 in the KJV, it says, and then I'll read it in the NLT as well, New Living Translation, and the KJV, King James Version on the left. So Ezekiel 4 and 12, and thou shalt eat it as barley cakes, and thou shalt bake it with dung that cometh out of man in their sight. So again, a low quality food. It says verse 13, and the Lord Yahweh said, even thus shall the children of Israel eat their defiled bread. Because imagine you're cooking, you're baking bread with human poo, as a fuel source, as you're gonna see in the NLT, which is, of course that thing's gonna smell, man. That thing's gonna smell. Now it says, and the Lord Yahweh said, even thus, and whenever you see the LORD in the capitals, that's referring to Yahweh's name, in terms of the root word. Of course, there was, in fact, let me just do this quickly. Here and there I'll do it, but other times I'm going to just get to the point. So as you can see here where it says the Lord, of course the root word in the Hebrew says Jehovah, but in the ancient Hebrew, which is the language they spoke, Israelites spoke, it would have been Yahweh, not Jehovah. There was 21 of the 22 letters in the ancient Hebrew end in the sound ah, and then one of those letters ends in the sound I. So ah, ba, ga, da, and then so on and so forth, and then one of those letters again ends in I. So it's supposed to be Ya, Ha, and then Wa, not Va, Wa. So that's the name right there. Let's see, as it says here, because we always say, as you always hear me say, in terms of the meaning of Yahweh, as they always butcher it here, they say Jehovah or Yehovah, it's Yahweh. He says the existed one. So hence he is, he exists, or he is to be. I think Hava in the Hebrew, Yaratazar later on, give it some time. I might go deeper into it. But yeah, Hava does mean exists, he exists. So Yah meaning he, and then Hava, or Hawa really in the ancient Hebrew meaning exists. So anyways, so yeah, and the Lord Yahweh said, even thus shall the children of Israel eat their defiled bread among the Gentiles, whither I will drive them. So among these other nations. So Ezekiel 4:12 in the NLT, now prepare and eat this food as you would barley cakes, while all the people are watching. Bake it over fire using dried human dung as fuel, and then eat the bread. Then the Lord Yahweh said, this is how Israel will eat defiled bread in the Gentile lands to which I will banish them. And it's true. Wherever Jake is at, whether it's the land of Moab, with the detestabilities and the unclean meats that are eaten there, or over here, or in the western side of the world, where with all these fast food restaurants, even if it's clean meats, aka chicken as well, they're not really treated right, man. They're not treated right. You could be eating a sick piece of meat. Hence why, even if you cook your own food, of course, you get your meat from the supermarkets. You gotta pray over it so that Yaratazar, you're eating quality food in faith. Of course, that's why I always like to say we eat in faith, man. So don't trouble yourself too much, because at the end of the day, wherever you're at, whether you buy from Ishmael or maybe an Irish meat shop, so on and so forth. Of course, use your discernment. If you can get quality, get quality. But at the end of the day, we always got to pray over our food, because you don't know what these animals went through prior to you purchasing the meat. So always pray over it so that all the inconveniences are cleared, through the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahshua, and you ain't got nothing to worry about. But first, this is really just to open your eyes. So let me get to the video, and then I'll get a few more presets, and then that'll be it. So as it says here, don't buy it, the KFC chicken story. And this is by, I just got recommended the video recently, so I decided, okay, let me watch this and see what's up. So Project Slingshot, that's their YouTube channel, and then that's the name of the video.
So we might get sued by KFC for this. 4 years ago, our film exposing KFC's treatment of chickens. So we might get sued by KFC for this. 4 years ago, our film exposing KFC's treatment of chickens went viral, reaching over 12 million people. Here's the full story and what happened next.
Hello my friends, I'm Nico and I'm on a farm.
KFC invited Nico, a popular YouTuber, to visit one of its farms and promoted the video online. They said they cared about animal welfare. We didn't buy it, so we found the farm, filmed it, and released our own video. KFC chose to bring Nico down here when the birds were really small and cute. They were maybe 15 to 20 days old. We've come back when they're 33 days old. See, the thing is, the birds are like this size. They're really small. They're just a few days old. So it does look like there's a lot of space there. But, we went back when the birds were closer to slaughter age.
So you really do care about these chickens then?
Yeah, we do.
Tony, what about these chickens? Do you care about birds like these three here who they've got to the point where they can't stand up anymore? And because their skeletons are so immature, they just can't handle the weight. So they get to a position where they just can't walk anymore. They can't fit.
As it says in Job 13:4, the physicians of no value, forgers of lies. These are one of the lies, the lies of the food industry that's used to deceive people. Eat. You gotta consider what you're consuming in your mouth. Hence why, we gotta have measures where, as you're eating as well, you gotta have a way to help your body process it or to clear out, the toxins. For example, as I always mention, fasting is one thing as well. Whether it be water fasting or even dry fasting, which is more ideal. There's also, if you can't fast, well, it depends. Fasting, you just gotta listen to your body, and then of course you can train yourself to adapt to more extremes. More extremes could be 2-day fast, 3-day fast, so on and so forth. I'm talking about dry fast here. Now, nevertheless of that, let's say if fasting ain't really a thing you do, or depending on your situation, at least exercise. Exercise is also another way to clear out toxins. I saw a video recently on, obviously with these trails in the skies, because certain words you say, the AI algorithms will catch it, and then they'll try and take down your video eventually, especially when it comes closer to the MOTB. There are certain trails in the sky. I'ma just say it downright, man, because just to make it easier for you lot to understand. Chemtrails in the sky, where you see, of course, planes that fly way higher than the commercial flights, spraying essentially certain heavy metals, or I'll just say metals in the skies. Like aluminium, barium. I believe barium was one of them. Aluminium was definitely one of them, or as Americans call it, aluminum. So these heavy metals, the things, let's say when you go on a run as well, or you exercise, for those of whom have tested their sweat samples, they realize that those same heavy metals sprayed in the skies are actually being excreted through your sweat as well. So sweating is a very good way of cleansing yourself too. So don't be too standoffish when it comes to exercise, especially if you are able-bodied. There is always something that you can do. So as I said, fasting, if you don't do that one too often, at least do some exercise. And if you're not into the rigorous heavy workouts, in terms of gym and whatnot, it doesn't even have to be gym. You could just be into bodyweight exercises as well. That's something too you could do at home in the privacy of your own home. As well as that, there's also foods you can eat. Let's say if you may be going through a strenuous or stressful time, and it's like you could just eat healthy. Eating healthy will help out. Instead of eating foods that would hinder you. So anyways, that's just me, trying to open your minds, which most brothers and sisters are aware of this anyways, but let's just consider it as a reminder. Fasting, exercise, even just going for a little walk. There's always something you can do. And let's say you're less able-bodied, you can still move around the house. There's always something. There's always something. At bare minimum, eating clean food, that will help.
Alright, Tony, I want you to address a conspiracy theory that KFC pump chickens.
Oh yeah, another thing as well, of course, considering balance too, because sometimes Arkin would go out as well. Maybe they have the family reunions or something. You might go to the restaurant, but the point is it's not a regular diet. So again, you just got to use your discernment at the end of the day, and a way to cleanse out whatever toxins that you may have consumed, because even in the air, the very air you breathe, you're still inhaling certain toxins, unfortunately. Hence why we need the kingdom of Yahushua, because things really got to be cleansed and reset in terms of the environment.
With steroids and make them huge. Nobody grows chicken like that.
Nobody in the animal protection movement claims that farmers are using steroids. Antibiotics, yes. And what we do object to is the selective breeding of these birds over decades, so that the birds take on so much weight that they can no longer stand up.
Why do the chickens have a swing?
They don't. At least not when they're not expecting the camera crews here.
See, that's the thing as well. All these chickens with, as they say, big and juicy. It's not. You don't necessarily know if it's in a natural way. That they've grown to be strong that way. Really, the more lean chickens, those really be the best ones. Because I remember back in Nigeria as well, when I last went there, the chickens there were more leaner. That I will say, they were more leaner. Of course, turkeys are bigger naturally, but specifically chickens, they were more leaner. They were able to carry themselves. But even when cooking it, it's like, okay, yeah, this is definitely a lean chicken. It's not something that's been pumped. It's probably the same thing over there in the West Indies as well. The islands, Caribbean islands. So yeah, man, natural, potent food, man. That's nourishing for your body.
Bells.
But again, over here in the UK, of course, in America, defiled food.
Birds to pack out.
Bells. They don't. At least not when they're not expecting the camera crews here.
Bells for birds to peck at.
Bells? I mean, bells for birds to peck at. I mean, it just doesn't exist. I mean, why would you even say that?
And all the enrichment that we put inside the shed.
You know, when we went, there was absolutely no enrichment at all.
And Tony, as well, there's no cages here. I thought there was like 4,000 chickens in one small cage. No, there is no cages.
I'm afraid Nico's getting confused with the egg industry.
Nico knows what he's doing, man. He's got paid the money, and of course he has to adhere to a certain narrative, hence why he's using certain word choices to make KFC look good, or well, yeah, you know, to make him look good, to sound good, but they're not. The evils are being hidden.
Well,
really, by this video, as it's called, Don't Buy It, you know, they're getting exposed anyways.
Even today, they are still using cages for the hens. And how is it a lot different in the chicken industry? They have no access to the outdoors, they have no natural light, they're just stuck in these horrible factory farms for their whole lives.
We're very proud of our animal welfare here. Giving the birds plenty of room to roam.
You tell me, do these birds have plenty of room to roam? Each bird has about as much room as an iPad or an A4 sheet of paper. How is that better than a cage?
We'll sprinkle fresh.
Funnily enough, as well, you know, that's how Esau is treating humans as well. With all these flats condensed with a lot of people there, they already have your own space. It's quite similar how the chickens are treated. That's how humans are treated. It's just that a lot of people are in ignorance to realize it.
Straw across the floor area for them to
plenty of room to roam. Each bird has about as much room as an iPad or an A4 sheet of paper. How is that better than a cage?
We'll sprinkle fresh straw across the floor area for them to play with and sit on. I'll bail under my arm like that, and then I'll just chuck fresh straw on the floor.
It's not exactly straw, it's a mixture of wood chip and feces and urine. It doesn't get replaced. They just spend their lives sitting on their own excrement, and as a result of that they get a lot of lesions. This is what we found outside the barns. Ugh. The thing is, we didn't get sued. The story appeared in The Guardian, and my park said that everything was fine. Claims such as these are treated incredibly seriously. The farm is managed to a very high standard, and our preliminary findings show that it is meeting those standards. The birds are displaying natural behaviours, like struggling to stand up and sitting in their own shit, and the farm adheres to all stocking enrichment and welfare requirements. In response to the allegations, KFC said, "We will continue to work with my park to ensure these standards are being met and will continue to drive transparency. As KFC is all about transparency, well, let's go back and find out." Right, so this is really...
That's the thing about these companies as well. It's like when they first start off, of course, whether it be in the 80s, 90s, or earlier on, it's that the product is actually good, or somewhat, how can I say this? Well, it's at minimum decent in terms of its consumption safety levels. That's the way I can put it. But then across time, that they just get worse and worse and worse. The product just gets worse. That's the problem with Esau's companies. Why can't it just be more? Why can't you just keep it good? Keep that same production good. But of course, things just gotta get worse, which again is another sign of his downfall. Things just getting worse. The food industry, the economy, you know, just everything in general. Even the spirit of people are starting to feel it. Things are just going down, down, down. Again, for Esau's kingdom, but for us, it's going up and up and up.
Interesting. This is a hell of a bet and will continue to drive transparency. As KFC is all about transparency, well, let's go back and find out. Right, so this is really interesting. This is a hell of a lot more security than when we came 3 years ago. There's not just one lock, two locks. But they've also put this tamper mechanism on here, so 3 types of security so that we can't get into the shed to be able to film. Rather than improving animal welfare, My Park and KFC had chosen instead to stop people from seeing the truth. They had even locked the bins. KFC is investing 1.5 billion in the UK and Ireland over the next 5 years, with 500 new restaurants planned. That means more factory farms will be built, millions more fast-growing Franken chickens will be locked inside them. And it's not just KFC. These farms supply everyone from Tesco to Sainsbury's, McDonald's to Pret. Over 90% of the 1.1 billion chickens bred each year in the UK.
You got to see it this way as well. You know, sometimes it's all about perspective, you know, to gain understanding. Let's say a human. Well, I'm not even going to get into the kilograms or the pounds and whatnot. But let's say a overweight human sitting down. You would have seen these documentaries or these videos out there on YouTube or whatever platform that talks about health. You know, a person who's super fat, overweight, of course, let's say to the point where they can't move, that is unhealthy. So imagine a chicken who can't move around and they're overweight, and as the guy mentioned, sitting in their own excrement, aka their own poo. So in that type of condition, clearly you'll understand that they are unhealthy. Even the chickens themselves are unhealthy if they can't move around. A healthy chicken, as I said before, they can move around, they're healthy. You know, they're lean. That's really it. So these are not really these are the chickens you want to be consuming, man. You want to be consuming healthy ones. You know, that's why, you know, people, those homesteading lot, they raise their own chickens, they raise their own livestock. Ideally, that's really the real riches, raising your own livestock. Yeah, let's see.
Farmed this way, but the industry has the nerve to call it high welfare. Don't buy it.
Simple as that. Now let's get to the precepts. This is Proverbs 18:15. The heart of the prudent getteth knowledge, and the ear of the wise seeketh knowledge. And to be prudent means you have foresight. You're able to think long term, not just short term. Short term is, of course, focusing on, oh, this chicken gonna taste good, man. Of course, referring to the typical low-level mindset. Now, of course, you know, when the food tastes good, it tastes good. But you gotta consider the long-term effects of, if you kept eating this and you made it your regular diet, would this be ideal in the future? No, it wouldn't, because you're gonna be able to see the effects on your body as time goes on, because again, it compounds. Whatever habits you have, it compounds. So let's read it in the NLT. Proverbs 18:15. Intelligent people are always ready to learn. And that's the thing. You gotta be able to learn things of which you can apply even at your current circumstance, or that you could apply in the future potentially as well. So intelligent people are always ready to learn. Their ears are open for knowledge. And of course, this food industry, us being able to attain this type of knowledge, of course, we're watching these documentaries, we're seeing the effects that these foods have on us. Then ideally, we use that knowledge, Yahara Tazar, to then apply it to ourselves so that we can improve our lives. And the thing is, if we're healthy, we're able to continue in this ministry for as long as it would go for, which really, again, to the famine of the word. So let's get this precept, and I think that should be it. So Jeremiah 4:22, because I was talking about the low-level mindset, because these 2/3, again referring to Zechariah 13:8, these 2/3 of wicked Israelites, you know, they're short-term minded. So Jeremiah 4:22, for my people is foolish, they have not known me, they are sottish children, which means they're stupid, and they have none understanding. They are wise to do evil, but to do good they have no knowledge. It's true. When it comes to doing good, they want to play ignorant. Like, yeah, ain't nothing happening. It went over my head. I didn't know about this. No, you did. You just didn't want to do it. That's why. Wise to do evil. Of course, many scenarios where, you know, where testimonies could be said there, man. Hence why Jake even has a hard time with trusting Jake. Israelites have a hard time with trusting Israelites. That's the thing. So that's why really, that's another reason why, we're seen as a spectacle when we're out there in the highways and byways. It's like, oh, all these people, all these so-called black men or so-called Latinos, Native Americans gathering together and preaching the word. What's going on here? This is a unique spectacle. So anyways, the point was really on the food. So that's really it. Akim, of course, use your spiritual discernment. Always pray over your food. And you gotta have faith that Yahweh Shem Yashai is protecting us, of course, as we also make decisions to improve our lives as well. You always gotta have something to cleanse out them toxins at least. So leave it at that. Shalom, Yahweh Shem Yashai, Barakatah.